Hi everybody, it's Thursday again and we have got a hot topic for another hot day in July. I've actually got my aircon on to keep me nice and cool. Well, it's going to be a really big topic today, and it's something that everybody talks about: fear. All those silly, irrational fears that we have. And we're going to try and chop them up and chop them off and dissect them and get into them a little bit and find out the root of it all. Let's see how we can solve some of these irrational, silly fears that we all have. So say hi when you come online. It'd be really nice to see you. Put your thumbs and hearts on so I can see them and read them. And to anybody who will join the replay, or who can't make it today because they're on the beach relaxing or something like that, please do also say hi and put in your questions and comments. I shall always get back to you. So today, fear. Who's afraid of the big bad? And then you fill in the jobs. And let's face it, we all have silly, irrational fears, don't we? All of us do. Yes, even I do. Scary, isn't it? And it's all about how we actually handle them. And today, when we have to speak and show up, hey Christina, how nice that you've come on. Lovely. We had a great evening yesterday, didn't we? And these fears, you know, that they just throw us off course, they stop us, they derail and waylay us, and we often end up giving up with big frustrations and regrets. And let's face it, none of us have got time for that anymore, have we? So what are we going to do about it? How are we going to talk about it today? Well, I did write about it in the blog last week. Yesterday. Oh, I'm losing time. I'm losing time. And it was all about how we actually face them. What do we do with these irrational fears? How do we handle it? How do we stop becoming mown down by these fears? How do we starve them out? Because, as Mary Morrissey says, starve the fears and feed the faith. And who's there? Joy! Hey, you were there yesterday too, wasn't it? Great. Lovely to see you both. Thanks for coming on, ladies. And so fears, yes. And we're going to be looking at tackling them, and I would love you to put in any comments that you have or any questions that you have, and let's see if we can start to dissect them together. But as I was saying, you know, I get my fears too. But I have learnt many ways over the years in the entertainment industry, different ways that I can, you know, get rid of them, so to speak, control them, put them aside, deal with them in a rational way. And, you know, you have to, I can't say that I'm perfect at it because, you know, I would not go bungee jumping because bravery and courage, of course, does come into it. And what I'd like to say is that one girl's brave act is another girl's daymare. You know, something that you might be able to do with great courage may make me totally scared. So one of the things behind it all is not to judge, not to critique, because we all have that chatty monkey on our shoulder telling us negative things and critiquing and judging us. And you know, we have to big up each other, make each other feel strong. So one of the things that the problems that we face is how we sabotage ourselves, how we actually allow that chatty monkey, those negative questions, those negative critiques come in and upset us and spoil us. And so many of us today have to speak up. We are on Facebook. We are doing videos. We're on camera everywhere. Big Brother is watching us and listening to us all the time. So we do have to face up to speaking up, face up to our fears. And yet we do sabotage ourselves so much. And the problems are that we give up, we become frustrated, we start listening to bad advice, people who don't believe in us, who don't have our side, who tell us, well, you're not that good anyway, well, it was a bit late for you, you shouldn't have tried it anyway. You remember all those negative chit chats? And listen, it's happened to me many times, many times. And I'll tell you a story. Years ago when I was in the music business, I went for auditions. I walked into this room full of men, as usual. And as I was assembling my horn, my saxophone, I felt all these eyes on me. And there was that chatty monkey. What are you doing here? Why are you here? You shouldn't be here. You're a girl. They'll never employ you. You're not that good. You're not good enough. What are you doing? And so what happened? My fingers froze. My embouchure, the position of my mouth, my embouchure went floppy. I had no lips. And I suddenly went blank. I couldn't think of anything to play. I intimidated myself. Yes, I sabotaged myself. You recognize that? Have you done that? Hey, anybody out there? Haven't you done that? That's happened to you, I'm sure, where you've just listened to somebody else's advice, listened to the chat in your own head, and put yourself off because somebody else said that you were not good. Yeah, that happens, doesn't it? So what can we do about it? I remember being told that girls shouldn't play a wind instrument, shouldn't play a saxophone, and we shouldn't be seen, we shouldn't be heard, we should just be nice and sweet. And so all that gender nonsense that we hear, how can I turn fear into something positive? Yeah, I'll get to that, Christina. What a good question. And we start to feel like we're not worthwhile. We've heard it so many times. We've read it so many times. Even yesterday, I was watching my favourite sport, which is tennis. And thank God there are lots of good guys out there, because one of the great British tennis players, Andy Murray, was being interviewed, and an American tennis player beat him. And the idiot interviewer, commentator, said, "Oh, this will be the first time in many years when an American player will reach the semi-final." And Andy Murray corrected him and said, "Male player." Because in fact, there have been so many American female players, the Williams sisters, who've made it to the top. So we get sidelined. We're forgotten. We're not considered valuable. We're not considered good enough. Yeah, Caroline, thanks for coming on board. Caroline says, yep, been there, done that. It takes time and belief to move yourself upward. Thank you so much. Yes, it does. It takes a lot of courage. And that's what we're talking about today. One person's courage, one girl's courage is another girl's daymare. And we have to team up and support each other, just like you're doing for me today. That's great. Thank you so much. And it does take courage when we face all these gender-biased fears and all these conditioning that things that we should and we shouldn't do, we could do and maybe we shouldn't do. And what happens? We give up. We just stop doing what we do. And then it puts us into a position of feeling like we failed. And please come aboard now. How can I prevent growing fear for public speaking? Hey there, nice to see you too, Jula. So, when we stop doing the things that we love doing, we start to blame ourselves. And that's just not a good thing. It's not a good place to be. So what can we do to get over these problems? Well, one of the things that I recommend to everybody is to develop the power of the pause. It's such a powerful tool to have in your pocket. And it's one of the easiest because it's all about breathing. And breathing is something we cannot live without. We have to do it all the time. So it is about slowing down and breathing and just feeling confident that you could take a little pause. And what can you do during that pause? Well, you can look around at the different people, and you breathe, you think about that next line that's coming up, and here you could look at the comments, Yes, we're going to get into all those comments soon. So the power of the pause, breathing, and that pause, that breath teaches you confidence. The two go together. Breathing and confidence, breathing and pausing, they really help you take command of the situation you're in. You know what they say, when you get angry, you're supposed to count to 10, right? It's that kind of thing. It's that kind of powerful pause that allows you to just step back for a second and think things through. And it's really simple to do because we do need to take that breath. One person that I work with quite a lot, she just speaks so fast and never breathes, and by the time she gets to the end of her sentence, and I say to her, power of the pause. So that's one of the great things that you can learn to do, and it does build confidence and self-belief. The second one that really helps you get over your fear is knowing your material, but using vocabulary that's unique to you, that's special to you, so that you've got the zing in your verbs and the zest on your adjectives. You really use vocabulary that comes alive and that engages people. Because when you liven up your language, if you like, make it richer and sweeter, then you can really, people are captured by that. Their ears prick up. They think, oh, that was a good way of putting that. I really like that. I understand that way of thinking. People are engaged when you use lively vocabulary, when you put some zing into your language. And it's really important, especially if you are not confident about the way you speak. Not that long ago really, I joined a Spanish theatre group. Yeah, that was a brave thing to do, I tell you. And I really wanted a speaking part. I really wanted to do something, be active on stage, because I love the stage. And one of the things that the director said to me was, I can't give you a speaking part because you've got an accent. Yes. So you know what I said? I said, yes, I have an accent, but it's very chic and very sexy. And he laughed. And he gave me a part where I had to wear a mask, so you couldn't even see my face. And I had to walk around like I was a stupid animal or something. So I never got to do a speaking part because I had an accent. Well, for somebody else, that could have put them off doing theatre for life. So it is, how do you ignore those negative comments that come back to you? How do you develop that thick skin? And it is by developing really good language, really lively language that captures your audience, engages you. And the other thing that's really important is that you surround yourself with people who encourage you. And I know that Carolyn has been in Toastmasters, and most of the time it was a very supportive group where people gave you good evaluations, good feedback, directed you towards improvements, how you could get better at something. And that's what we really need to do, is to surround ourselves with people who encourage us and give us courage. And one of the ways that we can do that is by having a coach. I do that. My coach encourages me and guides me forward and gives me recommendations and ideas how to improve. And that makes me feel better. That really does. Accountability partners. Somebody who says to you, well, try this. You can do it by the end of the week. Make a decision on something. Accountability partners are really, really useful too. And then surrounding ourselves with like-minded people, people who support us. So those are the three things I would recommend to start with. The power of the pause, breathing, taking in that moment. In music, they call it silence is golden, and that one-note beat that you take. So you're playing something and then you stop, and in that moment the audience is like, ah, but they haven't really got time to even think because you're back in again. So that's what the power of the pause does. Liven up your language, number two. Really get into bringing out the best unique language that you have. And you know, for people who have accents or have a different way of speaking, or maybe speaking in a second or a third language like some of you out there are, what do you do to liven up? Confidence. Confidence that you might just come up with something very original. And you probably will, because each of us have a unique way to express ourselves. And that's what we need to do in our businesses, to express ourselves in a unique way that captures and engages with those who are listening, with our audiences. And thirdly, surround yourself with people who encourage you. Courage is an encouragement, and encouraging people makes them courageous. That's true, isn't it, for all of us? So, anybody got a question out there? What do you do with your fears? Well, it's really hard to chop off the heads of your fears. But those 3 methods work really well. And I can help you with that if you like. I'm doing a taster course at the moment, just a 3-session course that would really help you to develop those skills. And believe me, they work. They're so simple, and that's what makes them work, actually. So it's the power of writing it right, getting your vocabulary so sweet and so juicy and so original, so that your verbs really zing and your adjectives are just covered in sweet honey. And then you rehearse it. And in the rehearsal, we look at the power of the pause, where you will speak next, which notes, which places you will pause, breathe, to capture your audience, to bring them in, to hook them in. And thirdly, presenting, where you develop the skills of bringing out your presence, because that's what really captures people. You know how you say how certain actors, how certain sports people, they've got something about them. They've got that je ne sais quoi. They've got that presence that makes you look at them and admire them and want to hear more of what they're saying. Presence. So when you learn to present yourself, you develop that charisma, so that when you speak, you become compelling and convincing. Write it, rehearse it, present it. Yeah, I'm offering this as a taster course very soon. 3 sessions, which will be some brainstorming, working on those fears that you have, developing your little sales pitch, your little promotion, your way of presenting yourself. Maybe it's an elevator pitch, as they like to call it. You know, people go around and they say, so what do you do? What do you do? How do you answer that? How do you answer that so that you feel satisfied and you don't go away thinking, oh, I've got a much better answer now. I wish I'd said that instead. Doesn't that happen to you, where you say something and you really wish you'd said something else because afterwards you've had the time to think about it? So nowadays, when we have to speak so much in public, we really have to promote ourselves, our books. Hey, Joy, don't you have to promote your book? What do you say? How do you sell yourself? And that includes talking about money. And that is a big fear for many people, isn't it? Yeah. What's this say? Worth it to seek logical reason behind our fears. Well, you know, sometimes I think it's more to do with like fear of spiders. You know, maybe a spider crawled into your bed when you were a child, and so therefore you were frightened of spiders. But, you know, the statistics say that fear of speaking in public is one of the biggest fears. And it's higher than speaking at funerals. It's higher than flying and diving and this kind of thing. But why is it? It's because we're not encouraged. When we go to school, we're not encouraged to speak up, especially girls, you know. The boys put their hands up. How many times have you been in a situation where you've got the answer, you've got a brilliant answer, you put your hand up, and then slowly, as everybody else answers, especially all the boys, your hand goes down. You feel shy, you feel nervous. You start to think that your answer is not really worth it. What's this? Yeah, talk about the money. Yeah, how do we talk about money? Well, That's very interesting because, especially us women, we're so used to giving everything away for free. Ah, yes, yes. We give away too much for free, don't we? And why is that? Why don't we deserve more money? You know? And I really do believe, to talk about the money, you have to believe that you are worth it. You know, when you're doing coaching, when you're selling your books, when you're promoting a business, you have to be confident about selling the money, you know, asking for the money. Why, you know, there's this little thing that you can do when people say to you, when people ask you for advice and you give your advice freely, willingly, and sometimes too much advice. But you know the number of coaches that charge for that? What would you charge for that in an ideal situation? So somebody said to me, what would you charge for coaching? How does the number $500, euros, pennies, pounds, kronas, how does that number sound to you? And immediately, oh, that's too much. I could never ask for that. No, that's too much. I don't deserve that. Why not? Have you not got the value? Are you not offering something very valuable? Okay, that's too much. 400. How does that sound? No, that's still too much. Okay, let's bring it down. 250. Well, maybe I could. Yes, if I offered something really good, maybe I could. So we try to get a leveling by asking ourselves, what are we worth? But you've got to start with a high number. And you've got to feel your worth. Why don't you deserve that amount? Why don't you deserve that amount? Is it because you think you're not good enough? Or is it because you don't offer value? If you don't offer value, work on your value. Work on your offer. If you're selling something that's not of good quality, then you can't ask $500, whatever for it, pesos. You've got to offer value, but you don't base your money on who you are. What's this? Talk about the money. How can we utilize the energy of fear? Yes. If it's free, then it has no value. No, not at all. We give things with love. You know, I think it's the most wonderful thing to give things freely and to give everything from money to gifts. I invest a lot of, I like to consider myself as a generous person. And I think that's really important because when you give, you have to learn to receive. And sometimes receiving means money. That's what it is. That's the difference. You know, you give, but you have to learn to receive. And sometimes receiving is money. You know, you can't give away everything for free. If it's free, then it has no value. Yeah. So, you know, you can't give away everything for free. You have to be able to see that when you give a lot of time and a lot of energy and something of really great value, you have to charge something for it. So let's take that a step. So we've established that, you know, with friends, with close people, with people that you love. Look, I give regularly to a charity. I give regularly to UK Plan to help a little Honduran girl get educated. To me, that's really important. And what do I give? I give money because I'm not there to give her any educational support or encouragement. So that's the kind of thing that we do. We give money when we can, or we give support when we can. We give something for free. I would give her education for free. I would teach her English or whatever. But she's not here, so I have to replace that with what I can do, and that is giving money. But when we can give something for free, of course we do, and it makes us feel good. And the more good things we do in life, the more accomplishments that we give freely from our heart, the more generous that we are, the more comes back to us. Isn't that the law of attraction? There are many people who talk about that. Bob Proctor does. I think that's a great way to look at life. You know, give, because then things come back. But we have to talk about money as well. Anybody arguing with that? We have to give. We have to realize that there are times when asking for money is very important, because at the end of it, we're going to say, so how much is that? You know, you're showing me a beautiful book, and I want that book. How much is that book? Okay, sometimes you're going to give that book because you're in that position to do that. But there will be times when you're going to sell that book, and what are you going to say? Well, I spent this much on it, it cost me that much. No, you should ask a good price for it. Because something funny happens when you start to ask for a good price. People think, that's value, that's a good price, that must be quality. You know, many, many years ago when I used to teach alternative women's health, and at first I decided to do it for free, to give it away for free, right? And I would spend an hour or so coaching individual women, and I found that none of these women did anything about it. They were late to turn up, they wanted more, they didn't read the books, they didn't do the homework. So I started to charge. Not a lot, but I started to charge because I was learning too. It was the beginning of something for me. When I charged money, people showed up on time. They did their homework, they read their books, they came in with results because they were being charged for it, they paid for it. So something happens to us when we pay for it. You know, I'm working with a coach and I'm paying good money. Listen, I'm going to take in every word. I'm going to snatch back everything I possibly can because I'm paying for it. And that coach gives me value for the money. And it's a funny thing. The more you charge, the more people think you are valuable, that you are quality. Okay, there are many exceptions. We go to restaurants and we think, ooh, that's a big price, 20 euros for a plate of blah, 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 blah. And then we eat it and it's not good. Okay, that's a different story. But we're talking about business here and giving quality, giving value, you know, and being paid well for it. And there is something about that evaluation between quality and a good price. You know, when you pay a good price for something and you get quality, you feel satisfied. And why shouldn't that happen when you are giving a service, when you're selling a book, when you're promoting a business, selling a house, selling your furniture, coaching, giving advice? I think it's really important. And too many women especially have really big fear about asking for money. And you know, they hesitate to ask for the top price, for the right price. Because we are valuable, we are worth it. You know, we are worth it and we are good enough. And so we have to recognize our value and recognize our quality. You know, that you give something back, you want something as well, but you don't, you know, you wait for the right time. So what is it? Any more questions out there? So, you know, I really think that fears can be handled. And one of the first steps is to be aware of them. And those three things that I mentioned, the power of the pause, livening up our language into engaging conversation, engaging language, you know, sizzling vocabulary, and getting encouragement, you know, with a coach, with an accountability partner, with like-minded people, with your tribe, as we have here, you know, where we feel safe. Those three things are really important. And if you want some more information, you can sign up to my blog. I'll put the link down there. Otherwise, it's the 3 W's, georgiabudgers.com. And if you sign up now, you will get the free ebook, which is full of all the tips and tricks and brilliant ideas about speaking in public, because that's what it is all about. It's about how can we learn to be confident, compelling, convincing, charismatic when we speak in public, and overcome those fears. Yes, you know, to have a few butterflies in our belly is really good, it's healthy, but it's learning how to let them free. And those three things that I mentioned, the power of the pause, the lively vocabulary, and being in an encouraging environment, really help you step up into overcoming those fears and chopping them up and dissecting them. So I'm going to sign off in a minute now, and just checking here how important it is just to be natural as well when you speak. You know, mistakes are popular. There's no such thing as imperfection, and we'll still love you if you have an accent, if you slip up, if you say the wrong word, because you're just being human, aren't you? And being human is really important. So I want to say thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope that you got stimulated by this conversation, and thank you so much for asking the questions, some really good questions that came up there. I hope I've answered them. I shall look through it again later. And anybody who's joining the replay, thank you so much as well for coming on board. Don't forget, you can join the website and come and see me again next week. Put down your comments, what you would like to talk about, what do you really want to hear, what are your fears about speaking in public, what are your challenges. I'm really here to listen and help you through all these difficulties, these challenges. So step in there, stand out, let me know what's going on for you. And once again, thanks so much for being on the show with me today. I really appreciate all your comments and questions to everybody. Yes, I agree that we are not good in our value of our own time. So whatever, as you said, we need to be aware of value of each other. Thank you very much, Christina. Yeah, I really appreciate that. So thank you everybody for coming on today, and thanks to those who will watch the replay. And we will see you very soon. I look forward to that. Thanks a lot, everybody, and bye for now. Bye.